My beloved, you've been carrying this weight for so long that it started to feel like part of who you are. A silent pressure in your chest, a tension in your jaw, a tiredness that sleep can't cure. The burdens of what-ifs and should-haves and never-ending to-dos have nestled so deeply into your spirit that you sometimes forget what it feels like to simply breathe. And yet, even as you walk through your days doing what must be done, there is a voice within you that whispers, "This isn't how it's meant to be." That whisper is me. I'm not scolding you. I'm not disappointed in your struggle. I'm gently calling you to come closer, to stop holding it all together, to lay down what you were never meant to carry alone. You see, I designed your soul for peace, not pressure. You were never created to be the one who fixes everything, protects everyone, or predicts every possible outcome. That's why the anxiety feels so heavy. It's evidence that you're gripping things I've asked you to release. I know the reasons why you hold on. You've been hurt before, let down, surprised by storms you didn't see coming. Somewhere along the way, you started believing that control was safety. But control is a fragile illusion, and you are not fragile. You are strong, yes, but your true strength is not in your grasp. It is in your surrender. Letting go is not a passive retreat from life. It is a bold declaration of trust. It is you saying, "God, I believe you are good, even when I don't see the full picture." It is choosing to place your most treasured dreams, your deepest fears, your unresolved pain, into hands that will never fumble, never overlook, never forget what matters most to you. Do you not know? Everything that has touched your heart has touched mine first. I am not indifferent to your burdens. I am aching with you, longing to relieve you, waiting for the moment when you'll choose trust over control. You don't have to figure it all out. You don't have to hold everyone together. That's my role, not yours. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to release. You are allowed to live free. But to do that, you must be willing to let go. Let go of the fear that tells you you're alone. Let go of the lie that everything depends on you. Let go of the shame that whispers, "You're not enough." When you open your hands, I will fill them not with empty promises, but with my peace, my strength, my presence. And in that space where your burden used to be, I will pour something better, rest for your soul. I know there are parts of you that resist this. Maybe you've tried letting go before and felt disappointed. Maybe you've confused surrender with silence and assumed that I was absent when really, I was simply asking you to trust me in the quiet. I do not always speak in thunder, but I never stop speaking. Every moment you choose me over fear, every sigh that turns into a prayer, every tear that falls while your heart says, "I still trust you." Those moments echo in eternity. They are not wasted. They are the foundation stones of a faith that cannot be shaken. Do you remember when Peter stepped out of the boat? The storm didn't stop just because he walked toward me. In fact, it raged even louder. But his eyes were locked on mine, and that gaze gave him the power to walk where he could not walk before. The moment he looked at the waves, he began to sink. Not because the waves were stronger, but because he took his eyes off the one who holds all things. I am still the same, still calling you to walk in faith, still reaching out the moment fear begins to pull you under, still offering the miracle of peace in the middle of chaos, not after, but right there in the thick of it. This letting go I ask of you isn't a demand, it's an invitation. Come. Place what's heavy in my hands. Come, sit beside me, and tell me what's keeping you awake at night. Come, let me be the one who carries what you were never designed to bear. You don't need to clean it up or explain it perfectly. Just bring it, as raw as it is, as messy as it feels. I already know and I already care. Your vulnerability is not a liability. It's a doorway into deeper intimacy with me. And in that place of honesty, I will meet you with more love than you've ever imagined. This is where peace begins. Not when the storm is over, but when you realize I am in the boat with you. Not when every answer is clear, but when you know the one who holds the future. Not when you fixed it all, but when you finally let it go. I don't need you to be perfect. I don't need you to have it all figured out. I just need your yes. Yes to trust. Yes to surrender. Yes to the kind of faith that believes I am good even when life isn't easy. So, beloved, are you ready? Not ready to be stronger, but ready to stop pretending you must be. Not ready to control more, but ready to rest. Not ready to impress me, but ready to let me love you where you are. Open your hands, exhale, let go, and watch what I will do. You woke up today already bracing yourself. Before your feet even touched the ground, your mind began to race, retracing yesterday's wounds, forecasting tomorrow's uncertainties, scanning every corner of your life for cracks that might deepen. And even as you carry on with strength forged in necessity, I feel the quiet ache beneath your resilience. I see the weariness behind your resolve. You don't want to be anxious. You don't want to doubt. But the world has handed you so much, too many variables, too many pressures, too many moments where you've been let down, and the result is a heart tangled in fear. Still, I whisper again, let go. Trust me, I'm not asking you to ignore what's hard. I'm asking you to believe that even in what's hard, I am still working. When you try to manage every possible outcome, what you're really doing is trying to protect yourself from pain. And I understand that. I created your heart. I know how deeply it feels, how long it remembers, how earnestly it hopes. I know what betrayal did to your trust. I know the grief you carry in silent spaces. I know the expectations that shattered when life didn't go the way you prayed it would. But I'm not asking you to trust me blindly. I am asking you to trust me honestly. Bring your doubt. Bring your fear. Bring your trembling faith that's barely holding on. I am not repelled by your questions. I'm not offended by your struggle. I am drawn to it because that is where I get to show you who I really am. You think peace comes once everything is resolved, but my peace doesn't wait for resolution. It creates it. My peace isn't fragile, contingent on circumstances or timing. My peace is a person, me, living inside you, steady and unshaken. I am the calm within you even when everything around you is chaos. You don't need to wait until the job is secured, the diagnosis is reversed, the relationship is mended. Peace is not delayed until life behaves. It's your now, if you'll let me be your anchor. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean what hurt you didn't matter. Letting go means you stop giving fear the final word. It means you allow me to redeem what you cannot fix. It means you recognize that your worth is not defined by your ability to control, perform, or predict. You are already deeply known and deeply loved before you lift a finger or say a word. Nothing you let go of is ever lost in my presence. Everything you release is lovingly received and carefully held. When you let go of your grip, you give me permission to move. I'm not waiting for perfect faith. I'm waiting for sincere surrender. You don't have to know what happens next. You just have to be willing to take the next breath with me. One step, one choice, one release. That's where trust lives, not in the full map, but in the willingness to follow me without knowing every turn. I've walked this road before you. I've carried every weight you now hold, and I've already made a way. Do you feel the pull in your spirit? That subtle resistance as I nudge you to let go? That's not shame. That's not guilt. That's the tension of transformation. Growth often feels like undoing, because it is. I am undoing the lies that wrapped around your heart, unraveling the fears that have shaped your decisions. I am peeling back the layers of self-protection, not to leave you exposed, but to cover you with something far better: my love, my promises, my presence. You are not being abandoned. You are being rebuilt. Let go of timelines, let go of appearances. Let go of the voice that says you're falling behind. I'm not pacing you according to the world. I'm pacing you according to purpose. And that purpose is not performance. It's intimacy. It's walking so closely with me that even the valley becomes holy ground. I will not waste your pain. I will not rush your healing. I will not abandon you mid-story. What feels like delay is often divine preparation. What feels like silence is often my invitation to come closer. Not everything broken is meant to be restored the way you expect, but I will restore you. And in doing so, I will write a story more whole than what you've lost. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are becoming someone who trusts even when it's hard, someone who loves even after loss, someone who lives not from fear, but from faith. That's what letting go makes room for. Not just rest, but renewal. Not just surrender, but strength. This is not weakness. This is worship. This is your soul rising up and saying, even when I don't understand, I still believe. And I cherish that kind of faith. It moves my heart. It draws heaven near. So come again, just as you are. Unclench your fists. Lay down your fear. I am here, not just to hear your cries, but to carry them. Not just to witness your pain, but to heal it. Letting go isn't the end of your story. It's the moment your story begins to breathe again. There are moments in your life where everything inside you screams to hold on tighter. You feel the edges of your world fraying, and instinct tells you to gather every thread, bind it together, make it make sense. The uncertainty of what you cannot control becomes a threat, a looming shadow that unsettles the very ground beneath your feet. But I never called you to live anchored in fear. I called you to live anchored in me. What you grasp for in panic, I offer in peace. What you chase through anxiety, I provide through presence. You do not have to hold it all together. I already am. The truth is, the illusion of control is a heavy taskmaster. It promises security, but delivers exhaustion. It whispers that if you just try harder, worry longer, anticipate every possible outcome, then maybe, you'll be safe. But safety was never meant to come from certainty. It comes from closeness, with me. The winds may blow and the tides may rise, but I am the one who walks upon the waves. Nothing touches your life without passing through my hands first, and I do not permit what I cannot redeem. So when you release what's not yours to carry, you are not inviting chaos. You are making room for redemption. I know the sting of past disappointments makes you cautious. You've trusted before, and things still fell apart. You've let go before, and your heart still broke. But I ask you now to see what you could not see then. Even in the breaking, I was building. Even in the silence, I was speaking in deeper ways. Pain does not negate my presence. In fact, it often sharpens it. When your heart is raw, it hears me more clearly. When your plans collapse, your soul finally turns toward what cannot be shaken. I never caused your suffering, but I've never wasted it either. Every tear, every prayer, every silent night has become seed in my soil, and in time, I will bring beauty from it. Letting go is not the end of your voice or your influence or your dreams. It is the doorway through which your truest self emerges. The you that is unburdened by comparison, free from the need to prove, secure in the knowledge that you are mine. You were not created to perform. You were created to abide. Abiding means staying close, choosing trust, walking with me in the quiet, trusting me in the dark, believing that even when nothing around you feels different, something within you is being transformed. You often think of trust as a feeling, but trust is a choice, a daily, moment-by-moment decision to hand me what you can't hold anymore, even when fear grips you, even when outcomes remain uncertain, even when others don't understand. Trust is you saying, "I'd rather walk into the unknown with God than live in false certainty without Him." That kind of trust doesn't come all at once. It builds like layers of a sunrise, slowly illuminating the shadows until your heart begins to rest. And beloved, I see your steps. I see your yes. I see the small, trembling acts of faith that feel like nothing but mean everything to me. You are not invisible. I know how hard this is. I know the tension you live with, the tug of war between what you can see and what you believe. That is the sacred space of faith. It is not clean or simple. It is messy and human and holy. And in that place I meet you. I don't wait for your confidence to return. I enter your confusion with compassion. I hold your questions without judgment. I walk with you even when your legs are weak. My faithfulness does not depend on the strength of your faith. I remain even when you doubt. I carry even when you stumble. I protect even when you don't see the danger. So let me protect you now. Let me be the one who watches over what you've entrusted to me. You've done your part. You've prayed. You've worked. You've hoped. Now is the time for me to move. But I move best when your hands are open. I work most powerfully when your heart is surrendered. You cannot create miracles by striving, but you can receive them in stillness. Miracles often come wrapped in quiet, in trust, in the unseen. I know you want to see progress. I know you long for signs. But what if the greatest sign is my peace guarding your heart right now? What if the breakthrough isn't a change in circumstance, but a shift inside you, where anxiety once ruled and now peace stands tall? What if the real miracle is how your soul is learning to rest, even while the winds still blow? This is the beauty of letting go. You stop living like a survivor and start living like a child, not a child who is naive or weak, but one who knows their father can be trusted. You weren't meant to white-knuckle your way through life. You were meant to live with open hands, receiving daily grace, walking in rhythms of peace, carrying nothing but my love and light. And you, my precious one, you are already doing it. Even reading these words, your heart leans closer. That is surrender. That is trust. That is the beginning of transformation. Let it come. Let it deepen. Let me show you how safe you are when you're not the one holding the world. I hear the thoughts that loop endlessly in your mind, the rehearsed conversations, the worries about what others think, the doubts that quietly whisper, "What if I'm not enough?" You don't say them out loud, but they are loud within you. You press forward each day, hiding the tremble in your heart with a brave face, trying so hard not to appear as fragile as you sometimes feel. But I never asked you to pretend. I never needed your strength to impress me. What I long for is your honesty. Raw, unfiltered, real. The letting go I'm calling you into is not about abandoning responsibility. It's about releasing the lie that you must be everything for everyone, including yourself. It's about trading self-sufficiency for sacred surrender. I know how difficult it is to trust, especially when you've been let down, especially when life has given you more questions than answers. The voices of your past echo loudly when you try to step forward in faith. They warn you not to hope too much, not to expect too much, not to rest too deeply, because resting, to them, meant letting your guard down. And you've paid the price before when your guard was down. But I'm not like them. I do not fail, I do not change. I do not vanish when things fall apart. When you fall, I fall with you, not in failure, but in companionship. I am still holding you when everything else feels like it's slipping away. Letting go is more than a spiritual concept. It is a healing movement of the soul. It is when the clenched fists of fear open into palms of worship. It's when your need to control becomes a deeper hunger to commune. You are not letting go into the void. You are letting go into me, into the same arms that shape the stars and count your tears, into the same presence that walked with Daniel through fire and whispered peace to Elijah in the cave, into the same heart that wept with Mary and called Lazarus forth from the tomb. I have always been a God who enters pain, not avoids it, not dismisses it, but enters it with power and compassion. You are not the exception. So much of your anxiety comes from forgetting who you are and whose you are. You think you must become something to be worthy of peace, but peace isn't something you earn. It's something you remember. Remember that you are mine. Remember that you were chosen not because you were flawless, but because I wanted you. I still do. I want you with your questions, your mess, your hesitations. You don't have to fix all your trust issues before you come. You just have to come. Every tiny step toward me is met with my running. I don't pace my love according to your progress. I love you because that's who I am. There's a quiet war that happens within you, the war between believing you are held and fearing you'll be dropped. That's the root of so much tension, and yet, I have never dropped you, not once. Even when you couldn't see me, I was carrying you. Even when the outcome shattered, I was rebuilding your heart. You've survived things that once threatened to destroy you, not because you were lucky, but because I never let go. And I won't start now. You are safer in my hands than in any plan you could construct. You are more secure in my timing than in any timeline you could chase. I know you want clarity, I know you crave stability, but sometimes the gift I give you is mystery, not to confuse you, but to bring you close. Mystery is where intimacy grows, when you don't know what's coming but still choose to stay close to me. Your heart learns trust in its purest form. It's easy to believe when everything aligns. But your faith, real, deep, unshakable faith, is formed when nothing makes sense, and yet your soul still says, I know who my God is, and I'm not silent. I'm speaking even now. Through the discomfort, through the uncertainty, through this very moment where your heart beats faster because you know I'm asking you to release something you've held for too long. I won't snatch it from your hands. I will wait for your yes. I will wait for your willing surrender. I want relationship, not reluctant compliance. And when you do open your hands, I will fill them with what you didn't even know you needed. My child, there's nothing weak about letting go. There's nothing foolish about trusting me. The world may call it irresponsible, naive, too risky, but I call it holy. This is the posture of the saints and prophets, the broken and the bold. This is the posture that parted seas and moved mountains. This is the posture that my son chose as he knelt in a garden, saying, Not my will, but yours. That kind of surrender changed the world, and it will change you too. You don't have to get it all right. You don't have to feel strong. You just have to be willing. Willing to believe that what I say is true, even if everything around you says otherwise. Willing to trust that I am with you, for you, in you. Willing to let go of the heavy and receive what is holy. And when you do, you'll find something you've longed for all along. Not just peace, but presence. Not just clarity, but communion. Not just control, but comfort. I am here. I've always been. Just open your hands. Do you think you're being responsible when you worry? You think that staying up late, rehearsing solutions, planning backup plans, and analyzing every detail is what a wise heart does. But worry is not wisdom. Worry is a weight that drowns your discernment. And I did not create you to drown. I created you to live, to breathe deeply, to walk freely in the garden of my grace. Worry is not your cross to bear. It is a signal that your soul has been leaning on its own understanding. A sign that you've started to believe that you are safer in control than in surrender. But you are not. You are not safer when you hold the reins tightly. You are safest when they rest in my hands. What if you really knew, that I am not just aware of your future, but already present in it? What if you could see me not only walking beside you now, but standing in every tomorrow, already weaving goodness from what hasn't even touched your life yet? That's not fantasy, it's faith. It's the reality of who I am. I transcend time. I see the full picture. I know where you're going and what you'll need to get there. And everything I do, everything I withhold, everything I allow, it's all part of the crafting of your soul. Not to harm you, never to harm you, but to make you whole. And that wholeness doesn't come through knowing all the answers. It comes through knowing me. The goal has never been certainty. The goal has always been connection. And that connection is strongest when you come to me not with polished prayers and perfect plans, but with trembling hands and honest cries. I want you as you are, not as you think you should be. There is no mask you can wear that I don't see through. And there is no shame I can't dismantle with a single word. Mine. You are mine. Not in a controlling way, but in the way a parent holds a newborn. Every breath, every heartbeat, every need, precious, cherished, known. You want to be strong, I know. You want to be the one others can lean on, the one who keeps things running, the one who doesn't fall apart. But even strong things bend under pressure. Even solid ground erodes if never rested. My strength is not something you have to earn. It is something I lend. And when I lend it fully, without condition, without shame, without asking for something in return. I never said you had to be strong alone. I only said, come to me. That invitation still stands. Letting go means daring to believe that I am better at being God than you are. That I don't just have a plan, I am the plan. I am the provider. I am the protector. I am the peace that doesn't depend on understanding. I do not need your constant vigilance to fulfill my promises. I just need your yes. Your trust is not a demand I make to test you. It is a gift I invite you to experience. It is the only way to peace that truly lasts. When you hold too tightly, you rob yourself of rest. But when you let go, you find a current of grace carrying you further than your striving ever could. You've asked me so many times for answers. Why this? Why now? How long? I've heard every cry, every plea, every whispered hope beneath your tears. And while I may not always explain my timing, I always reveal my heart. And my heart is always only for you. Even when the answer is wait. Even when the answer is no. Even when the answer is silence. I am not ignoring you. I am preparing you. And sometimes the preparation looks like being stripped of your ability to fix it. Because that's where your real healing begins. I don't want you to just survive this season. I want you to be transformed by it. To come out on the other side not just having made it through, but having been remade. Softer, bolder, kinder, stronger in the ways that matter most. That kind of change doesn't happen when you clench your fists and push through. It happens when you release the illusion of control and let me do the deeper work. Not in spite of the pain, but right through it. So today I ask you again, what are you still gripping? What fear, what timeline, what outcome have you not yet released? What version of your life are you still trying to force? Whatever it is, I already see it, I already hold it. And I'm not waiting with frustration, I'm waiting with compassion. My arms are open, not to punish, to embrace, not to expose, to restore, Let it go, not because it doesn't matter, but because you matter more. This is not the end, it's a beginning. The moment you stop fighting to be everything and start trusting the one who already is, you are not alone. I've never left your side. Even now, even here, I am closer than your breath. Will you let me in? Will you place what's heavy into my hands and rest in the truth that you were never meant to carry it alone? There's a deep place in your heart that longs to be known without needing to explain, to be held without needing to perform, to be loved without fear of rejection. That longing, it came from me. I placed it within you, not as a source of weakness, but as a sacred compass that always draws you back to me. When you try to fill that ache with control, with perfection, with performance, you find yourself depleted, because none of those things were ever meant to satisfy. You weren't made to carry burdens so heavy they mute your joy, steal your sleep, and tighten your chest. You were made for communion, where your soul doesn't just survive but breathes, expands, heals, rejoices. That's why I keep calling you to let go, because I know what freedom feels like, and I want you to know it too. You cannot experience freedom while living in fear, and fear always disguises itself well. It often sounds responsible, logical, even noble. It tells you that you're being wise, careful, prepared. But underneath it all is anxiety that never quiets, expectations that never ease, a race that never ends. That's not how I lead you. I don't drive you with pressure. I draw you with peace. My spirit doesn't come with chaos. My voice does not produce panic. When I speak, even hard truths come wrapped in love, and even discipline comes laced with hope. So when you sense unrest, pause. Ask yourself, is this voice from me or from fear masquerading as wisdom? I will never lead you into exhaustion. I may lead you through hard things, yes, but never alone, never without grace, and never without purpose. Every valley has a door, every wilderness has a stream. Even in your darkest night, I have placed stars you haven't yet noticed. But you only begin to see them when you look up, when you lift your eyes from what you can't fix and place them on me, not as a last resort, but as your first love. That's what letting go really is. Not giving up, but looking up. Not walking away, but walking with me. And as you do, the fog starts to lift. Not because the circumstances changed, but because you did. When you let go, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop spiraling and start settling. And in that settling, you begin to hear again my voice, gentle but steady, calling you by name, not shouting above the noise, but speaking beneath it. That's where my voice lives, not in the chaos, but in the stillness beneath it. You were created to hear me. You were made to walk in rhythm with my spirit. But fear interrupts the melody. Worry scrambles the frequency. Surrender tunes you back in. It's okay if you don't know how to do this perfectly. I don't need perfection. I want participation. I want you to sit with me, to bring me the truth of your heart, not the edited version, not the part you think I'll accept, but the whole, unfiltered, trembling self who longs to be seen. Because I do see you. I've always seen you. I saw you the moment your heart broke. I saw you when you smiled even though you were hurting. I saw you when you stayed up praying, not because you had answers, but because you had hope. You haven't gone unnoticed. You haven't been overlooked. My eyes have been on you every step of the way, and my hand has never let go. The lies that say you're not enough, not safe, not strong, they lose their power when you let me speak louder. When you surrender control, you silence fear's authority, because in that place of release, you give me permission to rewrite the narrative. No longer will your story be defined by survival. It will be shaped by healing. No longer will your identity be wrapped in doing. It will be rooted in being. Being loved, being held, being mine. And in that identity you will find strength you didn't know you had, not the kind of strength that muscles through, but the kind that bows low and rises higher, the kind that stands firm, not with fists clenched, but with arms open, the kind that doesn't panic when plans change, because it trusts the one who never does. That kind of strength is not born in striving. It is born in surrender. That kind of strength is what you are learning now. And I am so proud of you, not because you figured it all out, but because you're willing to trust me with what you haven't. Letting go will not always feel immediate. Sometimes it's a daily practice. Sometimes it's breath by breath. Sometimes it's 1,000 surrenders in a single hour. But each time you choose trust over fear, peace grows. And with each surrender, your spirit rises, lighter, freer, more rooted in truth. I will honor every small act of letting go, every whispered prayer of, I don't know how, but I trust you. I will meet you there. I always do. So rest now, not because the storm has passed, but because you are no longer standing alone in it. Rest, not because you have every answer, but because you know the answer. Rest, not because everything is resolved, but because your soul is no longer enslaved to what must be. You are mine. And because you are mine, you are safe. Even here, even now. There's a moment that comes in every heart's journey when the soul stands at the edge of a deep and invisible line. On one side lies everything familiar, your routines, your defenses, your unspoken fears dressed up as a control. On the other side is me. Not the idea of me, not the stories you've heard or the rituals you've followed, but me, alive, real, present, asking for more than lip service. I ask for trust. I ask for your hand when you can't see the next step. I ask for surrender, not because I need it, but because you do. That invisible line, that holy invitation, calls you now. Will you cross it? I know the hesitation. I know what it's like to stand at the edge and feel the pull of both faith and fear. I know the calculations you make in your heart, the weighing of risks, the mental spreadsheets of what could go wrong. But I also know what's waiting on the other side. Freedom that doesn't depend on outcome, joy that isn't rooted in circumstance, and love that cannot be lost. You were never meant to build your life upon the shifting sands of control. You were meant to stand on the rock of my presence, firm and unmoving, even when everything else shakes. You think peace comes after resolution, but the greatest peace comes when you realize you don't need resolution to be whole. You need relationship with me. That's the difference between relief and redemption. Relief is temporary. Redemption transforms. When you let go of needing to understand everything, you begin to understand what really matters. That I am with you, and I am enough. Enough when the money is tight. Enough when the relationship is complicated. Enough when the future is unclear. I am not the God of someday. I am the God of this day. And I am here, offering not just solutions, but myself. Letting go may feel like loss at first, but it is actually the opening act of restoration. What you place in my hands is not discarded, it is resurrected. You may lay down your timeline, but I raise up purpose. You may release your plan, but I breathe life into destiny. That's what I do. I take what the world calls weakness and turn it into wonder. I take what looks like an end and make it a beginning. I don't just remove burdens, I build bridges with them. I don't just silence fear, I turn it into a platform for courage. You're not here by accident. You're not listening to these words by coincidence. You've been asking me to speak, and this is my voice, reaching into the depths of your inner world, reminding you that I see what others don't, and I care about what you've stopped talking about. That small ache in your chest, the one you've learned to live with, I want to heal that. That secret disappointment you haven't confessed even to yourself, I want to rewrite it, not by pretending it didn't happen, but by walking with you through the ashes until joy rises again. That's who I am. That's what I do. I never ask you to let go and then leave you empty. I always replace. I always refill. I always redeem. When Abraham laid Isaac on the altar, he thought he was saying goodbye to his future. What he didn't know was that I had already provided another way. Not after his surrender, but before it. The ram in the thicket was already there. He just couldn't see it yet. And that's true for you too. There is provision coming you cannot see. There's mercy waiting where you only see scarcity. There's purpose being born in what you thought was pointless. Keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep releasing. The ram is already in the thicket. And when you begin to live this way, truly surrendered, you will notice a shift. Fear starts to loosen its grip. Shame starts to lose its sting. And hope, once buried, starts to rise again. Not because everything is perfect, but because your heart is no longer tethered to perfection. It is tethered to me. That's why joy begins to flicker again. That's why you start breathing more deeply, laughing more freely, loving more fully. Because you are no longer held hostage by the illusion that you must control it all. You are being held by me. Letting go is not a single act. It's a way of life, a rhythm, a holy exchange. You release, I receive. You surrender, I strengthen. You open your hands, I fill them with what they were always meant to carry: peace, purpose, presence. This is the path of trust. It is not easy, but it is holy, and every step you take on it brings you deeper into the life I dreamed for you. A life not dictated by fear, but defined by love. A life not bound by pressure, but marked by peace. A life that flows not from striving, but from abiding. So come now, stand with me at the edge of all you know, and take my hand. Let go, not into the unknown, but into the deeply known presence of your God. I will not let you fall. I will carry you across. And when you look back one day, you'll realize that what felt like loss was actually the moment you truly began to live. There is a strength rising in you that doesn't come from striving, but from surrender. It's quiet, but unshakable. Not the kind of strength the world applauds, loud, showy, relentless, but the kind that heaven treasures. Resilient, rooted, radiant in its stillness. This is the strength I've always wanted to grow in you. Not forged by your own might, but born in the moments you chose to trust me when nothing made sense. The moments you released what you couldn't carry, even with trembling hands. The moments you whispered, "I still believe," even when your voice cracked. These are the sacred places where faith becomes more than a word. It becomes a lifeline. When you let go of what you thought you needed, what you thought defined you, what you thought you had to protect, you made room for me. You made room for healing. You made room for transformation. And that transformation is not just internal. It is becoming visible in your words, in your decisions, in your quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout to be strong. You are changing even when you don't feel it. Even when the mirror still reflects fatigue. Even when your prayers are still laced with longing. Growth is often silent before it's seen. But I see it. I see you. And I am proud. This is what happens when you trust me. Not a life free from trouble, but a life filled with presence. Not a path free from tears, but a heart that knows where to run when they fall. You no longer walk as one trying to prove their worth. You walk as one who knows they are loved. You no longer live gripped by the fear of what if. You live wrapped in the assurance of even if. Even if it doesn't turn out like you hoped. Even if others don't understand. Even if the road is longer than expected. I am still with you. I am still working. I am still good. Letting go hasn't weakened you, it has anchored you. It has drawn you deeper into my presence, where your identity is no longer shaped by circumstances, but by my unchanging love. The voices of doubt and shame have grown quieter, not because they stopped speaking, but because you stopped agreeing with them. You've started agreeing with me. And when you agree with me, lies lose their power. The enemy loses his grip. And you begin to reclaim what was always yours: peace, freedom, joy. This is not just personal. This is prophetic. Your surrender is not just healing your heart. It is lighting a path for others. Others who have watched you. Others who are quietly wondering how you've endured, how you've kept going, how you still smile when so much has tried to break you. What they're seeing isn't perfection. It's not performance. It's presence. Mine. In you. Through you. All around you. And they will ask. They will wonder. And when they do, you will have something real to offer. Not answers, but authenticity. Not formulas, but faith. You're becoming a wellspring, a living testimony that surrender leads to strength, that trust leads to transformation, that letting go is not the end, it's the beginning of everything holy. And the world needs that testimony. The world needs you, not the you that tries to do it all, the real you, the surrendered you, the peaceful you, the one who walks with me not because everything is perfect, but because you know that I am enough. There's still more ahead, more to learn, more to release, more to receive. This journey of trust is not a one-time decision. It's a continual unfolding. But you're no longer afraid of the unknown, because you know who goes before you. You no longer resist change, because you've tasted the goodness that comes on the other side of obedience. You no longer run from the hard places, because you've met me in them, and discovered that I do some of my best work in the broken ground. And so we keep walking, hand in hand, step by step, breath by breath. I'm not rushing you, I'm not measuring you against anyone else. I'm growing you at the pace of grace, and grace is never late. Grace never demands what it hasn't first empowered. Grace never humiliates, it heals. Grace never shames, it strengthens. That's what is flowing through your spirit even now. My grace, my mercy, my love. Letting go has made space for all of this. Space for you to be who I created you to be. Space for me to be everything you need. And we are not done yet. There is still more I want to show you. Still more freedom to uncover. Still more joy to ignite. Still more peace to pour out. You've opened the door, and now the floodgates are ready. This is what trust unlocks. Not a life without trouble, but a life where trouble bows before truth. And the truth is this: you are mine, and nothing can separate you from my love. Now that you've tasted what it means to live without clutching everything in your grasp, you're starting to realize that peace isn't a fleeting feeling. It's a posture, a rootedness in something deeper than what the eyes can see. It's a soul planted in trust, not because it knows the outcome, but because it knows the one who holds it. You're learning that joy isn't a reward for success, but a byproduct of surrender. And what once felt impossible, to let go, to release, to trust, is becoming your rhythm, slowly, gently, and yet powerfully. You may still have moments where the old patterns rise up, that instinct to take back what you released, that urge to protect yourself when vulnerability feels too risky, that lingering doubt that asks, what if God doesn't come through this time? I understand those moments. They don't disqualify you, they refine you. They are not signs of failure, but of transformation. Letting go is not a destination you arrive at and stay in forever without struggle. It's a journey you walk with me, again and again. And each time you surrender, it becomes a little easier. a little more natural, a little more holy. I do not grow weary of your process. I don't roll my eyes at your faltering steps. I'm not annoyed when you bring the same burden to me 100 times. I rejoice every single time you come. I smile every single time you choose me over fear, even when it's hard. Your journey toward trust is beautiful to me, not because it's perfect, but because it's yours. It is deeply personal, divinely designed, and fully covered in grace. You're not the same as you were when you first whispered, "I think I need to let go." Something in you has shifted. You're starting to see the patterns of my faithfulness, not just in hindsight, but in real time. You're beginning to believe that I'm not just present, I'm invested. That I'm not just sovereign, I'm intimate. That I'm not just mighty, I'm gentle. And that's changing everything. Because once you begin to truly see me as I am, your trust deepens. Not because you're forced to surrender, but because you want to. Because you've discovered that my presence is better than certainty. My nearness is more secure than your best strategy. You've also begun to notice how your letting go isn't just affecting you, it's shifting the atmosphere around you. Your relationships feel lighter, more honest. Your thoughts are less rushed, more anchored. Your heart has more room to feel, to breathe, to receive. You're not reacting as quickly. You're listening more deeply. That's the fruit of surrender, not just peace for your own soul, but peace that overflows. The peace of someone who walks with God. And yes, others notice. They may not have words for it, but they feel it. You carry something now, not pressure, not perfection, but presence. Mine. Letting go has also started to reframe your pain. You no longer see your disappointments as proof that I wasn't there. You see them as evidence that I was holding you the whole time. You're learning that your broken places are not liabilities. They're places where my glory shines through. You're understanding that healing isn't about forgetting the wound, but allowing me to fill it with something deeper than closure. Communion. Real healing changes your lens. It helps you see that what was meant for harm has been folded into a greater story, one where redemption sings louder than regret. And now you're beginning to walk in hope again, not the fragile kind that crumbles under pressure, but the living hope that springs from knowing I am faithful. This hope is not naive. It doesn't deny the difficulty. It doesn't ignore the unknown. It just knows that the unknown is not unoccupied. I am there, already preparing, already redeeming, already working all things together. This hope gives you the courage to dream again, to love again, to believe again. And not just for yourself, but for others too. You've been comforted so that you can now comfort. You've been filled so you can now pour. This is the beautiful paradox of letting go. It doesn't lead to emptiness. It leads to abundance. The kind of abundance the world can't manufacture. The kind that flows from me. You've learned to live not with clenched fists, but with open hands. And those hands are now free to receive, to create, to bless, to heal. You were never meant to build walls around your heart. You were meant to be a channel through which my love flows. And that's exactly who you're becoming. You're not just surviving anymore. You're living. You're not just coping. You're flourishing. You're not just holding it together. You're being held. This is what surrender does. This is what trust produces. And this is just the beginning. Keep walking. Keep releasing. Keep trusting. The more you let go, the more you discover that you've never truly lost anything, only made space for what matters most. Now we come to the heart of it, the sacred space where your journey of letting go meets the fullness of my embrace. You've walked through the fire of fear, the fog of uncertainty, the weight of grief and striving, and through it all, I've been leading you. Quietly, faithfully, gently. You may not have seen the path beneath your feet at times, but your spirit kept moving forward, trusting that I would make a way. And I did. I always do. This is what it looks like when a heart begins to rest in me. This is what it feels like when the soul remembers where it belongs, not in control, not in constant doing, but in communion with the one who holds it all. Letting go was never about defeat. It was about restoration. I didn't ask you to release what you were carrying so that you would feel empty. I asked because I wanted to fill you with something better, something lasting. And now, your heart beats differently, slower, stronger, with less panic and more peace, with less urgency and more clarity, with less fear and more faith. You've discovered that my promises aren't vague or delayed. They're personal, present, and deeply reliable. And the more you rest in that, the more alive you become, not just spiritually, but in every way. I've watched the walls come down, walls you didn't even realize were there. Walls of self-protection, built from disappointments. Walls of control, built from past betrayals. Walls of busyness, built from the fear of stillness. But now there is space. Space to feel again. Space to dream again. Space to receive again. And I will fill that space with more than you asked for. I will fill it with wisdom you didn't know you needed, joy you thought you'd lost, strength you've never known, and a hope that defies logic. This is the inheritance of those who trust me, not the absence of pain, but the presence of peace. Not a life without trouble, but a life anchored in truth. You've begun to believe me, not just about who I am, but about who you are. You no longer define yourself by what went wrong, by what you couldn't control, by what others said. You define yourself by my voice, my delight, my love. You are the one I chose, the one I've been shaping, the one I sing over even in the dark. And in that identity, you are unshakable, not because you're invincible, but because your foundation is eternal. Let that truth root itself deep in your soul. You are not a burden to me. You are my beloved. Now, as you move forward, don't expect every day to be easy, but expect every day to be filled with me. You may still have moments of wrestling, but they will not undo you. You may still have questions, but they will not unravel your peace. Because now you know how to find me, not in certainty, but in surrender, not in striving, but in stillness. You've learned the sacred rhythm of release, and it will carry you through every season ahead. Letting go was the gateway. Trust is the path. But love, that is your destination. To live loved, to walk loved, to speak, serve, rest, dream, and rise from a place of being fully known and fully held. That is the life I've always intended for you. That is the inheritance no one can take. The world may shake, but this truth stands. You are safe. You are mine. And I am not finished with you. So take a deep breath now. This is not just the close of a chapter. It is the rising of a new one. One written in freedom, led by faith, and saturated in grace. You are stepping into a life not ruled by fear, but ruled by peace. Not defined by outcomes, but by presence. Not limited by what was, but expanded by what is and will be. You are ready, not because you feel ready, but because I say so. You have what you need. Not because you've prepared perfectly, but because I go with you. And wherever you go from here, know this: I will never stop walking with you, leading you, holding you, loving you. You have let go, and now you are held. Amen. Now, beloved, share this message if it spoke to your heart. There are others like you, waiting to hear that they too can let go and be held. Let my love move through you. Let it echo. Let it multiply. The journey of trust doesn't end here. It's only just begun.